Hi, my name is rk1580, and today we'll be talking about the progression of techniques used in online advertisements and effectiveness of defensive practices against them. Now, why is this important? Personally, I believe the importance of privacy is getting lost with each passing day, and many people are numb to hearing about it with all the breaches that come up in the news all the time. Um, and people don't also seem to have a good grasp on just the amount of personal information that exists out there about them, and their spending habits and their web browsing habits as well. One famous example that comes to mind is the lawsuit against Target, in which Target was able to find out that a teenager was pregnant before the father did, simply based on the different types of items she was looking up. And based on those search results, Target was able to specify certain items she might be interested in. When the father went ahead and took a look at her recommended items, he started questioning why all these different pregnancy kits were coming up. And because of that, the father ended up knowing, oh my God, my daughter's pregnant. And it's situations like this where, people don't really realize just the different types of algorithms and the different ways these companies are trying to figure out, how can I best cater to the audience? How can I best market towards them? And in the same sense, how we wouldn't want somebody following us everywhere we go, keeping track of what we do in real life, there's plenty of people out there who don't want the same happening when they're browsing the internet online. So today's core area of focus will be the realm of digital advertisements and ways to protect against them. We'll also be touching upon some of the techniques used by agencies to be able to track a user. So how accurately can ad companies track a user? And are there any good means of stopping them? Is simply browsing in incognito mode enough? Or is simply deleting cookies after your session is over simply enough? These are all questions that hopefully will be answered through the experiments that we conducted that will be talked upon as this presentation goes forward. Some key observations that did come out of this research was just how much money is being funneled into online advertisement. As you all know, online usage has completely exploded through the use of the internet and the World Wide Web. It has actually risen from $1.5 billion back in 1998 to over $333 billion is what it's projected to be by the end of 2019. And this is only expected to grow to around 400 or 500 billion come 2025. So there's a huge incentive for all these ad companies to constantly keep getting better, just based on the amount of money, just based on how many people are transitioning away from your brick and mortar stores to do their online shopping, and really migrate over to the digital sense. And cookies are not the only way that these users are getting tracked. With new techniques coming out, there's methods like perma cookies and zombie cookies that exist that track header information used by building up a profile of unencrypted sites that people visit. And since these are injected on a network level, there's really no good way of blocking these cookies. So typically when a user presses that share my data with third parties button, they, willingly are opting into these type of tracking methods. There's also ad agencies that exist like United Virtuals that claim that they can track a user's browser through the use of persistent identification elements, or PIs, that cannot be deleted by commercially available anti-spyware or malware or adware removal programs either. So the invasiveness only continues to get more sophisticated. Not only that, the platforms for delivering ads has changed completely too. It's no longer just limited to the web or just browsers and desktops, right? Now we see ads all over on tablets, on mobile games, on phones, and they have made their ways into video games, movies, even streaming services nowadays. And this type of invasiveness is only going to continue to grow as the market demand for it continues to rise. So for our experiment, we started off with 3 VMs. The first VM was a control VM that had no privacy add-ons and allowed all cookies. Basically, this VM was allowed to just roam free, go to any sites that they wanted, and really have no restrictions. VM2, although it had no add-ons installed, it blocked all cookies. This was really to test whether tracking amongst sites varied or differed. And this is really to get a better understanding of, if certain ads appeared in one site, are they going to get migrated over to a different site? And then VM3 really contained a whole slew of privacy add-ons, a bunch of different ad blockers, and accepted no cookies. We also conducted an accuracy test. And this is pretty much spending a good amount of time looking for three key terms. SANS Institute, which is a security organization. Google Nest, which is a brand of Google that's used to market smart home products like speakers, displays, thermostats, things like that. And then we also looked for Ecuador traveling, just to see if we get targeted with any sort of traveling ads. And the idea was that we would spend a good amount of time going from site to site and various different search engines, spending around 30 minutes or so, really searching for these three key criteria and see if any ads pertaining to these search results come up on the various different sites that we visit. So the ads for Google Nest actually ended up coming the fastest once we started searching for it, probably because it's a pretty easy product and it's something that's usually marketed on the internet pretty heavily. We were able to find various different examples of it. So initially it started off by generically showing Google products like the Pixel 4 that started coming out. But over time, we only got hit with Google Nest products and, specifically a Google Nest Mini Generation 2 ad that also appeared as well. The Ecuador travel trip actually took a little bit more time to show up. We did have some generic ads coming up for flights from Fort Lauderdale to San Jose, and this actually appeared a couple times. Once again, to actually get down to Ecuador travel, it took a little bit more searching around, but finally we did get one on Reddit. And then once we clicked into it, we realized that the key here was clicking into the ads. Once you started clicking into some of these ads, it's like Google's AdSense kind of kicks off saying, hey, we piqued the interest of the user. Let's really start targeting this user based on this ad. So once that first Ecuador site came and we clicked on that one, as you can see to the right, we started getting hit with another different type of Ecuador ad on a completely different site. One thing to note was that while we were browsing around, we happened to go on bookit.com just looking for Ecuador travel. And although that ad itself isn't specifically for Ecuador, we started getting ads about bookit.com as well. So it's not just the type of ads that we were searching for, but the different web pages that we landed on started funneling into our ad history as well. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. With this search criteria, I really didn't expect anything to come up just because it's such a obscure topic, right? Because SANS is pretty much this security institution that does various different trainings. And as far as I know, I wasn't really aware that they had any sort of online advertisements. Now, keep in mind, most of the time when I browse, I typically have some sort of privacy add-ons enabled, so I typically don't see any sort of advertisements on the web to begin with. But my general understanding was that they were pretty much advertised through word of mouth. But this experiment amused me in that wasn't the case. So when I started looking around, one of the funny things was when I was looking for Ecuador and Costa Rica travels, or just around South America and stuff like that, I started getting hit with Black Friday cyber specials for privacy. So I guess based on my browsing history and based on looking for security training, I guess the ads started targeting me for any sort of security software or privacy software. Once I clicked that ad, the second I clicked it, when I went back to Reddit, that exact same ad started showing up on Reddit now, simply because I clicked on it and simply because now it shows that I have an interest for it. But lo and behold, once I started browsing around to various different news organizations, I started seeing my first SANS ad, pretty much asking me to book for next year's 2020 conference. And then a different ad on a completely different security website popped up as well, once again asking if I'm interested in cybersecurity training. And all this was done, for all these three sites within a span of 30 minutes for all three topics. It was just sitting around going to various different domains, various different search engines really, and just looking for these search terms. And in such a short amount of time, a profile was able to be built, about me and what my interests are. And then right away, regardless of which website I was on, and at one point, I think I was even on some New Zealand news website, I was still getting targeted ads pertaining to these three topics. And this slide here just goes to show just how invasive some of these ads are. Before, kind of speaking on the progression of these ads, they used to be almost just banner ads, right? And it's very hard to tell from this static image, but this static ads, have now morphed into pretty much taken over a whole page. So the ad that you see on the left really is about this new relic, some sort of data types observable ad. But not only is it just an ad on the right side, it kind of takes over the whole banner in the background as well, making itself prominent, more prominent than the article that's in front of me. The picture on the right depicts an instance where a privacy add-on wasn't enabled, and it kind of got rid of all the ads on this page. And you can just see how much neater this website is. It even tells you a section that was completely missing, had there been ads, and that's what are the most read articles on this website. So what have we learned here? That protecting your online presence is important. I only spent a mere 30 minutes on each of these VMs looking around for various different search topics. And some of the search history that I did, in Bing or Yahoo or Google ended up showing related ads on sites that I visited halfway across the world, pertaining to Australian domains or New Zealand domains. And this just goes to show how much data is being shared amongst various different companies, and just how targeted and how much of a profile users are getting built up, from these ad agencies. And the scary part about all this is just that I only spent 30 minutes doing this, right? So given enough data, given enough time, it's very easy to see and very easy for these companies to start predicting your type of behavior and predicting your habitual patterns of searching, of what you're looking for. And that way they can better try to figure you out and predict you. And we also learned that deleting cookies simply is not enough, right? You have to have some sort of privacy add-ons. In the test on how many ads were shown on popular websites, deleting the cookies did not prevent these type of ads from not appearing at all. The advertisements were still there. And even though they weren't 100% targeted, there were definitely some sites in which I wasn't able to replicate the same search histories from coming up. Plenty of other sites still showed ads for either SANS, especially Google Nest, which appeared on most sites, and even Ecuador Travel, or just traveling advertisements in general. So the key takeaway here is find yourself some good privacy add-ons, and this might take some due diligence and some research on your part, because these add-ons constantly change, ownership changes, there's always new elements that come up, and it's hard for whoever's hosting these to continue to maintain them. So it's important to preserve your digital presence. Thank you.